Imagine working side by side with someone for months. You share lunch breaks, you close up shop together, you trust them. Now, imagine that same person standing over you with a weapon, not because of a deep lifelong vendetta, but because of a pair of stolen pants. We often look for monsters in the shadows, strangers in ski masks or intruders breaking in at midnight. But the terrifying reality of the Lululemon murder is that the monster wasn't hiding in the dark. She was standing right there in the fluorescent light, wearing the same uniform, smiling the same smile. This is the story of a betrayal so brutal it left a victim with 331 injuries and a community terrified of a killer who didn't exist. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy war stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. Bethesda, Maryland, is the kind of place where people pay a premium for safety. It's a bubble of manicured lawns, expensive cars, and high-end retail that promises a perfect life. In 2011, the crown jewel of Bethesda Row was Lululemon Athletica. It was more than a store. It was a sanctuary of wellness smelling of lavender and fresh fabric, staffed by young, fit, relentlessly positive employees. But on the morning of March 12, 2011, that sanctuary was shattered. When the morning manager arrived to open the store, she found the front door unlocked. Inside, the silence was heavy, broken only by a faint guttural moan drifting from the back of the store. What lay beyond the sales floor wasn't just a crime scene. It was a slaughterhouse. Blood coated the floors, the walls, and the merchandise. Amidst the carnage lay two women. One was the store manager, Jana Murray, lying face down in a pool of congealed blood, beaten beyond recognition. The other was her coworker, Brittany Norwood, huddled in the corner, battered, zip-tied, and whimpering in terror. It looked like a robbery gone wrong. It looked like the work of monsters. But as detectives would soon discover, the monsters hadn't broken in. The monster had a key. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoy war stories like this, be sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it with someone who'd love it too. The scene that greeted the Montgomery County Police was chaotic. Jana Murray, a brilliant 30-year-old with an MBA and a zest for life, was dead. The violence inflicted on her was staggering, the kind of overkill usually reserved for crimes of deep personal hatred. The survivor, 28-year-old Brittany Norwood, was rushed to the hospital. She was the only witness, the only one who could tell the police what had happened during that long night, and the story she told was the stuff of nightmares. Brittany recounted a tale of terror. She said that after closing the store around 9 p.m., she realized she'd forgotten her wallet. She called Jana, who had already left, and asked her to come back. Jana, being the kind soul she was, returned to let Brittany in. That, Brittany claimed, was when they attacked. She described two men. Tall, wearing dark clothes and a ski mask, she said they slipped in the door behind the women and unleashed hell. Brittany told detectives the men were sadistic. She said they beat the women, sexually assaulted them, and forced them to move around the store while taunting them with racial slurs. She claimed she tried to fight back but was overpowered, tied up, and beaten until she blacked out. She's survivor's guilt was palpable. She didn't know why the men had killed Jana but left her alive. The police believed her. Why wouldn't they? Brittany was covered in cuts and bruises. Her eyes were swollen shut. She was a young, articulate woman who had just lived through a horror movie. The community of Bethesda panicked. A massive manhunt was launched for the two masked men. People locked their doors. Sales of home security systems skyrocketed, and vigils were held for Jana. Flowers piled up outside the Lululemon store. Everyone wept for the victim, and everyone prayed for the survivor. But as the days passed, the homicide detectives inside the store began to notice things that didn't add up. Forensic science is cold. It doesn't care about tears, it only cares about physics. And the physics inside that yoga store were screaming that Brittany Norwood was lying. The first problem was the footprints. The floor was covered in bloody shoe prints, specifically a size 14 sneaker. Brittany had said the men were large, which fit the shoe size. But the prints were wrong. They were shallow. They didn't have the heavy heel and toe impact you see when a large man walks or fights. It looked like someone was wearing clown shoes, shoes that were too big. Then, detectives found the actual shoes. Tucked away in the store were a pair of size 14 Reebok sneakers. They were display shoes, used for the mannequins. They were covered in Jana's blood. Why would a hitman or a robber break into a store, put on a pair of display shoes to commit a murder, take them off, and then leave barefoot? The inconsistencies kept piling up. Brittany claimed she was sexually assaulted, but the medical exam showed no evidence of rape. She claimed the men were there for hours, but nothing was stolen. The safe was locked. The cash registers were untouched. If this were a robbery, it was the most incompetent robbery in history. Then came the Apple Store witness. Employees working late next door reported hearing noises that night. They heard thuds, they heard screaming, but they didn't hear deep male voices barking orders. They heard two women arguing. They heard one voice screaming, "God help me, please help me," and another voice screaming back. The detectives stopped looking for men in ski masks. They started looking at the woman in the hospital bed. To understand why this happened, you have to understand who Brittany Norwood really was. On the surface, she was a charming, athletic former soccer player. But underneath, she was a pathological liar with a history of theft. Throughout college and previous jobs, whenever Brittany wanted something, she took it. And when she got caught, she didn't apologize. She attacked. On the afternoon of the murder, Jana Murray had done a routine bag check. Inside Brittany's purse, she found a pair of yoga pants that hadn't been paid for. Brittany tried to lie her way out of it, but Jana checked the records. No receipt. Jana called her manager. The decision was made. They would deal with Brittany on Monday. Brittany was going to be fired. Her reputation, her job, her standing in the community, it was all about to be erased over a pair of pants. Brittany couldn't let Monday happen. That night, she lured Jana back to the store with the forgotten wallet excuse. Once the door was locked, there were no masked men. There was only Brittany, desperate and cornered. We don't know exactly how the argument started, but we know how it ended. Brittany Norwood grabbed whatever weapon she could find. A heavy metal wrench, a hammer, a knife, a merchandise peg. The attack wasn't a snap. It wasn't a moment of passion. It was a prolonged 20-minute assault. Jana Murray fought for her life. She had defensive wounds all over her hands and arms, but Brittany was relentless. The medical examiner would later testify that Jana Murray suffered 331 distinct wounds. 331. It was an act of total annihilation. Brittany didn't just want to kill her, she wanted to erase her. After Jana was dead, Brittany Norwood didn't run. She went to work. For hours alone in that store with the body of her boss, Brittany staged the scene to match the lie she was already formulating. She put on the size 14 display sneakers and stomped around in the blood to create the intruder tracks. She cut her own clothing. She inflicted superficial wounds on herself, scratches on her chest, cuts on her forehead to make herself look like a victim. She then zip-tied her own hands and feet. Forensic experts later demonstrated how easily she could have done this, using her teeth to tighten the bindings. She lay down next to Jana's body and waited for morning. But she made one fatal mistake. During the night, Brittany moved her car. Police found her blood inside her vehicle, on the gear shift, the steering wheel, and the door handle. If she had been tied up by intruders the entire time, as she claimed, how did her blood get into her car? The answer was simple. She had walked out, moved her car to make the robbery look more convincing, and then walked back in to tie herself up. When detectives confronted Brittany with the evidence, the display shoes, the lack of an exit trail, the blood in her car, she didn't break down and confess. She just shut down. Her web of lies had finally run out of thread. The trial in October 2011 was emotional and gruesome. Brittany's defense team tried to argue for second-degree murder, claiming it was a fight that got out of hand. But the jury looked at the number 331. They looked at the variety of weapons used. They looked at the calculated way she staged the scene and let the community live in fear of phantom killers. It took the jury less than an hour to return a verdict, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. At her sentencing, Judge Robert Greenberg looked Brittany Norwood in the eye and delivered a chilling assessment. "You are a cold-blooded, calculating woman. You have no soul." She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Lululemon murder remains one of the most disturbing cases of workplace violence in American history. It shattered the illusion that safety can be bought with a high price tag. It reminded us that evil doesn't always wear a mask or hide in the shadows. Sometimes, the danger is standing right next to you, wearing the same uniform, folding the same clothes, smiling the same smile. Jana Murray is remembered today not for how she died, but for how she lived, full of adventure, kindness, and integrity. Her family created a foundation in her name to keep her spirit alive. Brittany Norwood remains in a Maryland prison, a woman who destroyed 2 lives over a pair of yoga pants. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, do you trust the people you work with? I'm Midnight Monologues. Sleep well.